Hey sailors, welcome back. So this is another tutorial in our exploration of Chapter E. This is going to involve ski troops. So if you've never used ski troops, hopefully you'll be less intimidated by them if for whatever reason you want to start doing. There's several scenarios that do have skis, including both sides as well. If you look on Scenario Archive, I was only able to find about 50 or so, but again, depending on the search terms, there's got to be more than that. And if you have the Finnish Hakapala module, most of the scenarios there probably include skiing of some kind of capacity. So there's plenty of opportunities for you to explore skiing. And let's go into the rules. Breaking down the rules for the skis. So for obvious reasons, you can only use skis when you have ground or deep snow present. If you do not have those weather conditions, then you cannot use them. Ski capable units can be on foot, they can be on their skis, or they can be transported by any other normal means when not in ski mode. For example, you can be on the back of a truck. Your skis will cost you 1 portage point, so you can lug them around much like a support weapon. If you're on skis, you're considered a skier, and therefore you're identified as such by being placed with the skis up. Now, if you look at the counter that comes, there's two sides. This is the skis on, and this is the skis off. So if the off is up top, that means you're not wearing your skis. However, to show your possession of the skis, the counter must be carried on top of the unit. Now, there's no cost for switching from ski to foot mode. However, if you want to put your skis on, it's going to cost you 2 movement factors unless you're a Finn. Those guys only have to pay 1 movement factor. Normal CX penalties and restrictions will apply. So if in the process of putting on your skis and or taking them off, moving into buildings, etc., you could exceed your normal movement points, you'll have your normal CX restrictions applying to you. So skis, as I said, are 1 portage point. So if you're not wearing them, you're carrying them. And you cannot carry more than your usage requirements. So you cannot carry 2 squads worth of skis on 1 squad. You must only carry your own. If you can imagine, skis are kind of bulky and hard to carry around, and it makes perfect sense. When it comes to recovery and transferring of skis, it can only be done if the units are ski capable. However, there is a chance for a non-skiing unit. If he rolls a 1 on the die, then he's able to recover transfer it. However, if it's a 2 or a 6, they're going to be eliminating the skis. And finally, unpossessed skis are always placed under all units in their location to represent the fact that they're on the ground. I'm not going to get into the dummy ski counters for obvious reasons. This is just something that you can use with your dummy counters to help you move them around, denoting the fact that they're on skis. Let's look at miscellaneous rules. Something that is quite important as well is for every unit that has ski capability at the start of the scenario, you get winter camouflage. It's automatic. The SSR may specify such, but if it does not and you have ski capabilities, you presume to have winter camouflage as well. If you're on skis, you cannot fire any kind of gun or ordnance support weapon or medium machine gun or HMG. Basically, just your LMGs is all you can fire. If you ever get stuck in close combat with skis, you're going to be penalized with a +2 on your roll, and you'll be attacked with a -2 on their roll. So you are able to leave melee at any point if you're on skis. You're not held in melee. And during a movement phase, while in melee, you're able to come out of your skis if you so choose. So just remember that. If you get stuck in melee and you survive, and it's your movement phase in the next turn, then you can come off your skis and not be penalized accordingly. Finally, when it comes to Berserk status, you cannot change from foot to ski mode or vice versa. The exception being is if you're on skis and the known enemy unit is in a building or woods, for example, someplace you cannot enter with skis, you'll have to come off your skis before you can enter the building. All right, so let's discuss ski movement. So it is a form of infantry movement, and therefore you're subject to all the rules pertaining to such, including gaining CX, getting extra movement points for a leader, that kind of thing. You pay no extra movement factors for crossing snow or drifts. Now, if you remember my weather tutorial, there was penalties involved when you start crossing drifts and deep snow, and you do not pay that for obvious reasons because you're on skis. However, you cannot enter certain locations, including rubble, buildings, pillboxes, vehicles, or entrenchment. And you can never receive shell hole terrain benefits as long as you're wearing your skis. Nor can you cross a clipped hex site if you're or move beneath a wire counter if you're on skis. You have to go to foot mode first before you can do any of that. You can use bypass to go around buildings and woods. And if for whatever reason you finish your movement points in bypass status, you'll automatically come off your skis and be moved into the terrain feature. And we'll get into that when we look at some examples. There's no extra movement bonus for being a skier on a road. And going downhill, you'll gain an extra 2 movement factors for every crestline cross moving to a lower elevation. So, for example, if you're on a level 4 hill, going all the way down to level 0, you're going to be getting an extra 8 movement factors. On top of your original 4, you throw in a leader NCX, and you can see how quickly it adds up to like 16 movement factors. And this can be used to exceed the restriction on movement factors allowed at the broken, wounded, or berserk units. So again, if you start on a higher level and you ski downhill, you'll be able to get some significant boost to your movement factors. During the advanced phase, you can only advance 1 hex, and you're subject to the normal difficult terrain restrictions. So, for example, if you advance 1 hex, take off your skis, move into a building, or if you're in a building, you want to exit the building and put on your skis, say in the woods, for example, you could be subject to difficult terrain restrictions and become CX. Broken units can also benefit from being on skis. If you're on skis or if you're carrying skis, you can switch to go on skis, and therefore, depending again on the circumstances, say you're on an upper level, you could ski downhill and get some significant boost to your movement factors. Finally, you can only low crawl when broken if you remove your skis, again for obvious reasons. So let's look at the Accio. The Accio is basically a sledge toboggan, if you will. We still use them here in Canada up in or during our winter warfare training and exercises. So they're still around, quite useful, and they help you carry more than your normal allotment. So it's treated as a 3 portage point support weapon, and it must be portaged whenever you're entering difficult terrain, and or if you're a passenger on a truck, for example, you must portage your toboggan. It increases your IPC by 2, so you can have a Russian medium, which costs 5 portage points, on an Accio, and you will not affect your movement factors, even though you would exceed your normal IPC. You must drop your Accio whenever you're routing or performing a berserk charge or part of a human wave. Again, if you're going to do any of those actions, then you cannot lug around a toboggan. So if you're in possession of an Accio and you become broken, again, you just drop it, you place it underneath your counter, and then you proceed normally with your broken unit. In addition to the restrictions on terrain from skiers, you can also not cross an unbreached wall or a hedge. Obviously, this is an obstacle that you have to roughly maneuver your toboggan over, and it becomes unwieldy. You cannot enter crag hexes, and whenever you have alpine hills in effect, if you're climbing a hill hex. All right, so let's look at some examples trying to apply everything we just showed you. So for this example, just something I made up, we have a Finnish 648 with an Accio and a Russian medium, and their skis are off. So they're in a defensive posture on top of a level 2 hill. We've got a Russian with a Russian medium and an A1 leader behind a wall. And then we have 2 447s coming on with skis during the Russian movement turn. So we're going to start off, and it's going to be the Russian turn. So the first thing that's going to happen is the prep fire phase. So our Russian unit here wants to fire at the Finns on top of the hill. Now, because we're 9 hexes away, and I have clear line of sight to it, I'm able to see over the building. And because we're 9 hexes, the Finnish camouflage will kick in, which means there's an extra +1. So besides the height advantage of +1, you also have winter camouflage of +1. Subtract 1 from the leader, it gives you a net +1. And we're going to only be firing the medium because the squad is beyond their long range. So we're going to be on the 4 table with a +1. And we have an 8 on the 4, which will be nothing. So, and we do not have rate, so they're done. And now we can do normal movement phase. So we'll start off with the first guy. Now he's, say for example, once you get to this building here, counting it out in his head, he realizes it's going to be 6 movement points, so he's going to have to CX. Again, there's no bonus for being on a road when you're on skis. So he's CX'd, and we're going to move 1. This is now a blind hex because of the woods. Q2 is also blind hex because of the S3. We go to here again, and then we move 1 more for 4. At this point, the Russian player made a mistake because this is no longer a blind hex, and it's quite in range of the squad and the medium. So he's going to lose concealment, and he's going to be attacked with half firepower 6 for 8 and a 4. So it's going to be on the 6 table, and it's going to be with a -2. Now, because this is 7 hexes, the Russian camouflage does not play into it, and so he's just going to be suffering a 6 down 2 attack. And I just broke my gun. So he luckily escapes. He can now continue on his move. He's done 4 movement points at this point. He takes off his skis, and he's able to enter the building. All right, so we go to our second unit now. And again, he wants to get into the stone building, provide some cover for these buildings here, maybe for future plans. And so again, he's going to have to CX. So he declares it, and he begins his move. 1, 2, again, blind hex. 3, 4 are also blind hexes. At this point here, he must take off his skis, and then he can move into the building for 6 movement points, all unobserved by the Finn. All right, so now we're going to go into the finish turn, and we're going to move him off the hill. For whatever reason, this is not tenable. Let's see if we can repair our gun. He cannot. We're still going to lug it around, though. Let's assume that it's not broken. And we're going to go right to the movement phase. He's not going to waste time trying to fire on this unit or this unit. We're going to get into some advantage. Maybe we're going to try and make it to R8, maybe S8, and just prevent any further Russian movement. For example, let's say the victory condition in this case was the Russians have to exit off the bottom of the map. You may want to interdict and be along there. And obviously where you are now, this building here will block any kind of line of sight that you may have to this area. So we're going to move. So we're going to put our skis on for 1 point. At that point, it's considered movement. So these 2 stacks here will be able to fire. So we'll do this guy first. He's going to be firing long range. Again, winter camouflage will not take effect because he's only 7 hexes away. He's going to be firing a 2 firepower at long range with a +1 for CX and a +1 for height advantage. So a 2 up 2, which is going to be again nothing. 7 on the 2 is a miss. And then we're going to fire our squad with the medium. Now, again, because this squad is firing long range, the Finns have winter camouflage. There will be a +1 for winter camouflage in addition to the normal +1 for height advantage, just like last time. So again, we're going to be firing on the 4 table with a +1 because of the leader. So that's going to be a miss. I almost broke the medium, and I do not have rate. Luckily, I have a leader, so I'm not coward. Now we spent 1 movement factor so far. Skis are on, so now we're going to go downhill for 1, but I've gained 2 movement factors. We're going to bypass for 1, but I've gained another 2 movement factors. So now my total move, without being CX'd, is 8, because I'm carrying this in an Accio and absorbing the 5 portage points the medium would normally cost. So we have 8 movement points. I've only moved 2 so far. 3, 4, 5, 6. At this point, I would have to take my skis off if I want to enter R8, or I can go bypass 7, bypass 8, and stay on skis. And then in my advance phase, I can take my skis off and man my medium. And that's just a quick look at skis. So again, a very short section, not a lot to cover there. Give you some serious advantages if you have skis, especially in terms of the extra movement bonus. Really helps you react a lot better. You're not penalized by snow drifts or deep snow, the normal penalties, for example. You have winter camouflage automatically whenever you have skis, and it just gives you several advantages which can be used. The detriment, of course, is going to be shooting weapons because you're limited to light machine guns, and especially in close combat for whatever reason, if you still have your skis on, you're going to be heavily penalized. But circumstances are what they are. If you're berserk, for example, and you're on skis, you're going to charge into combat with your skis, assuming you're not in some restricted terrain, and again, you'll just be penalized with that. So hopefully you found some use out of this, and give skis a try. There's depending on your search term on ASL Scenario Archive, you get anywhere from 6 to I think 50 scenarios with skis. The search term isn't well regarded, I guess. So you're gonna have to do some snooping around to find it. Again, if you have Hakapala with the Finnish modules and those scenarios, you're gonna have a lot of ski scenarios that you could play if for whatever reason you want to try it. And again, other nationalities will be able to use things like the Accio and the ski capability. For example, Italian mountain troops fighting in Italy is just an example. So again, hopefully you got something out of that, and we're going to carry on with our Chapter E tutorials. Next up, we're going to do boats. So see you guys in the next video. Bye.